I all but obligatorily got into watching podcasts like We Might Be Drunk, Tuesdays with Stories, and whatever other shows that Mark Normand, Sam Morril, and Old Joe List have created. In fact, friends of the channel could tell you that until I did those reviews of Joe List's specials a little while back, I didn't even really like these boys. But when I saw that Ed Helms was on, it was like I saw the Eek signal in the sky, and I knew that I needed to come perform my function. So let's get into it.
All right. We start it up? Let's roll.
Oh, how about you, Ed? You like the
now.
booze?
Nah.
Come on!
I mean, I used to like it, and it does weird things to my heart.
Oh.
Yeah.
Really?
First off, Ed Helms, for those of you who somehow don't know, is a very famous and successful comedic actor. He had a starring role in the hit show The Office, he was in The Hangover as one of the lead characters, and has become sort of a living legend, especially because we don't have as many comedy movies coming out as we used to.
Thank God for us, because we tour all the time and people come out to see stand-up, but I mean, I feel like back in the day, like it was great to see a comedy in a packed theater.
The best.
Oh man, I remember we're like sort of Midtown West here, right? In this,
Yeah.
So I remember when I lived here, going to see Something About Mary. 'Cause I was such a huge Ben Stiller fan from the Ben Stiller show, and I was, it was early. What year was that? Pull that one up.
94, I'm calling.
No.
96.
Wait, okay, 98. So I moved here in 96. I'd just been here for 2 years, just struggling to get those open mic spots and doing as much comedy as I could. And I loved Mr. Show and the Ben Stiller show and all those great shows. And like, Ben Stiller's in a movie. Oh my God. And I went by myself.
Yeah.
And it was in this neighborhood. Because for some reason I lived in Brooklyn, but this was where maybe it was I snuck out of work or something, and I sat in this packed theater by myself, and it was like one of the best movie going experiences ever because I loved that movie. When I first saw it, I was crying in the theater, sitting in by myself between it was packed.
Yeah,
because that's when theaters were packed when a movie came out and people were excited. Like they packed theaters.
Oh yeah.
Hearing Ed Helms talk about the days before he was big is cool, and it leads them into an interesting bit about comedy culture itself.
Yeah.
Because that's when theaters were packed. When a movie came out and people were excited, like they packed theaters.
Oh, yeah. And it was real. That was back when water cooler talk. Everybody was talking about the jizz in the hair and the Franks and beans and the Brett Favre of it all. That was a hell of a time.
Matt Dillon. Such a killer in that movie.
And it's all killers. Like Lee Evans kills it. And like Chris Elliott. Like everyone's amazing.
Yes.
But Matt Dillon.
He stole it with forehead like a drive-in movie theater.
Sam Morril is hilariously uncomfortable, and it's making him so awkward. Luckily, Mark Normand was there to make a funny little quip, and Ed is friendly enough to just nod along and go with it, but we'll see more and more of this from Sam today. Here's one example.
Stole it with forehead like a drive-in movie theater.
It's also amazing because I saw we were on the road once. We downloaded, I guess, like the extended version of it, and the scenes they chose to cut were exactly right. Like they just
interesting.
They just kind of disrupted the momentum. It was one of those things where they nailed it.
Yeah, that's good. That's reassuring when that happens.
Yeah.
Even Mark misses Mark here. He thinks Ed's making a joke when in reality Ed wasn't given much to work with in the first place. I don't think he was kidding. I just think that what Sam Morril said didn't leave much space to comment on beyond being like, huh? Or like, interesting. But I'm sure they'll pull it together. Ed Helms has been around the business for so long and has been party to so many legendarily cool comedy moments, I cannot suggest you go watch this on your own strongly enough. And out of respect for the interview itself and to the show, I'm not going to include everything here. But here is a great example of the awkwardness I am making reference to.
Here.
Yeah.
The show's over. It's all about timing. You got to know when to wrap it up.
Yeah, it's Hangover. Did you know when you're making that, you're like, this is really good?
I think we knew that we were having like an unprecedented amount of fun. And so we all felt like we were onto something. There's never, at that point, none of us were very well known. So there was no sense that like, oh, this is going to be a hit. But we definitely knew we were making something that we were going to love and be proud of. And we would hope people would see it. And honestly, I think that energy is what that's like anything. I think that carries projects, is like when you can feel that the team involved, whether it's the cast and sometimes the crew and everybody, is like when you can feel that they're psyched.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's a comedy or a drama or an action movie. When you can feel the cast, I would say the same thing about The Office. Like, everybody on The Office loved The Office and loved making it and loved being in that conference room together and cracking each other up. And that, I think, is like this intangible magic that makes the product good. And it's
totally.
like that.
Mark Normand positively could not be more checked out here, which is wild because that was fascinating. Which leads me to ask, how did these boys drop the ball so hard? What a legendary chance to make interesting content. And they just showed up and were like, yeah, we're pretty much equals. Why write down any questions? Let's just wing it. Let's watch that last bit one more time while we focus on Mark Normand's face.
And loved being in that conference room together and cracking each other up. And that, I think, is like this intangible magic that makes the product good. And it's
totally.
like that love.
But Ed is a really nice dude, it seems like. Or at least he's a nice person to interview. They continue to talk about movies with him for a little while.
Yes, Pineapple Express.
I love those movies.
They're so good. That was like a crazy stretch. Like, we really took for granted. I was sick a couple weeks ago and I Love You Man just came on. And I was like, oh shit.
First off, the crazy stretch that we, quote, went through that Sam is talking about spans over 20 years, in some cases even more. They keep talking about movies like they're dead, but like, are they not a huge part of that problem?
Like, we really took for granted. I was sick a couple weeks ago and I Love You Man just came on. And I was like, oh shit, this is funny.
Yes.
I forgot these are just all funny.
Oh my God, Sandberg in that movie
is
just...
He's great. We used to have comedies. It was like a
I mean,
thing.
that was like a crazy amount of hit comedies at once.
Yeah.
Like, Forgetting Sarah Marshall was on too. I was like, this is hilarious.
Isn't that weird? Because my agent's always like, comedies don't play well in theaters now. And you're like, but that's what's supposed to be at theater. Comedy and horror are great for theater or for movie theaters. Like, it should be where...
Horror still hits.
Horror hits, but, you know, they say comedy in a movie theater is no-go anymore.
Which is insane, because you would think, like comedy clubs are a thing because people like to laugh together.
Yes.
I think that might be hurting it. Is how many live acts are on the road right now. I think people are like, I'll just go see this live show.
So let me get this straight. Comedy movies aren't happening because stand-up comedy is in a boom? Really, dude? You don't think it's got more to do with the fact that you're all on 100 different podcasts, which all feature you scraping the bottom of the barrel for every scrap or semblance of a story you've got? The fact that you spend all your time on the internet or in the same comedy clubs rehashing the same jokes to the same crowds instead of writing a fucking script so that people will sign up for your Patreon and subscribe to your podcasts wrought with ads all of your own on top of other ads for whomever paid YouTube for the spot which you yourselves opened up? That's got nothing to do with it. You being a public sellout isn't why. You not taking the time to write, revise, believe in, and even fund your own script, that's not why. We used to have comedy movies because we used to have comedians who would do more than the bare minimum to get paid. I'm livid, bruv.
You know, they say comedy in a movie theater is no go anymore.
Which is insane because
I
you would
know.
think like comedy clubs are a thing because people like to laugh together.
Yes.
I think that might be hurting it. Is how many live acts are on the road right now? I think people are like, yeah, I'll just go see this live show.
Wait, what's it?
I think there's
that.
so many live shows in any city at a given time that they're like, instead of going, and there aren't that many comedies being made. So I think those two combined,
Right.
how many comedies are in the theater, first off, and then secondly, like, oh, there's 8 comedians doing a show. There's all these comedy clubs. They're theater act comics, you know?
And
Dude, Ed Helms rules. He's not buying it. He not only asked Sam to explain his own bullshit point, which ended in total nothingness, he also didn't just nod along and agree. I think that's because he is inarguably way above these guys on the comedy totem pole. He doesn't need them to invite him back so he can actually speak his mind.
And secondly, like, oh, there's 8 comedians doing a show. There's all these comedy clubs. They're theater act comics, you know?
And
Yeah.
at a comedy club, you're going to get the Elon Musk jokes. You're going to get the Trump jokes. You're going to get that. I think people are craving that because the news is so
Topical.
bonkers. Yeah, and you're not going to get that with a comedy movie.
Yeah.
It's just a movie about a lady who's autistic and
Okay.
gay or whatever.
All right.
Ed's being polite by not arguing, but let's go back over the point that they're trying to make. They complain that we don't have as many comedy movies as we used to, and say that it's because what people really want to hear is them tell Elon Musk jokes, because the news is just so crazy. But you know what was just as crazy? The Cold War era, the World Wars, hell, the pandemic, literally every other period of time since there's been news on radio has been equally crazy. That's not only the nature of humans, but the nature of news itself. Maybe get off X, Mark, because you then go on to say that comedy movies don't give audiences that kind of experience and are all just about, like, characters doing, like, things in a, like, made-up world. They start off making a point, but are waylaid by their own unfettered cope. The fact that they're not asking Ed Helms what he thinks about all this is a huge part of the problem. They see themselves as his equal and for some reason don't care to even get his perspective.
Who's autistic and
Okay.
gay or whatever.
All right.
We hope it comes back. We're trying to make a movie right now. We want comedies. I love seeing a comedy movie in a theater.
Oh, yeah. Especially a black theater.
Yes.
Nothing better. I saw American Pie in a black theater, and that added an element. Popcorn flying, riffing, their own jokes. It was great.
I saw 12 Years a Slave in a white theater. Not a good experience.
Oh boy.
It wasn't good. No.
Now that is interesting. Mark mentioned earlier that his agent told him that comedy movies just aren't selling right now. Then Sam goes on to say that they themselves are trying to make a comedy movie, which, credit where it do be due, means they're actually working on something like I suggested earlier. This explains why they are not only coping so hard, but also seem to have taken it personally. The problem, boys of We Might Be Drunk, is not with the industry, it's with your script. Keep editing, keep writing, keep talking about your movie and getting people interested. This is the first I am hearing of it. Be open to hearing advice from internationally famous movie makers and comedy actors when you have them on your 2-bit podcast. Be diligent, be likable. As Joe Rogan might tell you, be undeniable. That's all in the first 10 minutes of this calamity, and I haven't watched the rest yet. Maybe they turn it around, but I won't make that your problem. If you enjoyed this video, please poke the thumbs up button and remember to subscribe because we are indeed of a kind. Beyond that, I'm Critical Leaks, and in the meantime, be nice.